Hello everyone, welcome to Basically Nita Reads. I'm Nita, and in this video I give some recommendations for two books that I think that you might like. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Assassin's Apprentice, which is one of my top books of the year of 2024. And this book is by Hobb. It is a high fantasy story, character driven, and the plot goes really fast. And it is about a boy who is learning about himself, becoming of age. He's learning about his magic, which is a kind of magic that is linked with animals. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details with this, but I will say that this was one of the books that inspired me to talk about, give you guys recommendations. And this video is basically like, if you like this, you might like that. So here's my recommendation. So the book that I'm recommending for this book, which is Assassin's Apprentice, will be The Dragonbolt Chair by Ted Williams. Now, this is also a coming-of-age story, high fantasy, and it's about a boy who is trying to learn about himself and becoming who he is. The only difference between this book and Assassin's Apprentice is that this is where the character is more prone and you don't see as much of the plot. So the plot is a bit slow, whereas in Assassin's Apprentice, the plot goes basically normally in a normal pace. I will say Hobb does give you a lot of emotional punches while she's giving you the plot, and a character driven book, whereas Ted Williams just gives you the character and the plot comes as it comes. So you might like them both if you try them. That is why I think the reason why I think the reader of Assassin's Apprentice might like The Dragonbolt Chair is because they're both coming of age and it's character driven and it's high fantasy and it's kind of a similar story. Assassin's Apprentice is about a royal bastard who is trying to learn about himself, whereas in The Dragonbolt Chair, he's just an orphan who is trying to learn about himself. And the second book that I will recommend for these two books, for Assassin's Apprentice, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This one, I would say, is more towards the Dragonbolt Chair than Assassin's Apprentice, but it's also, I would say, you might like it if you also like Assassin's Apprentice. This is about a boy who is very academically good at everything, and he decides to go on a journey to go to this magical school. And in this journey, he learns about himself. He loses, he learns about himself and how to use magic and those kind of things. So it's also a coming of age, it's also a high fantasy, also character driven, and the plot goes slow, just like The Dragonbolt Chair. The reason why I think that people who like Assassin's Apprentice might like this is because it's also high fantasy that is about a coming of age story. I would say that people who tend to like the Dragonborn chair also like The Name of the Wind, but that's just my opinion. Reading is basically objective. It's about your taste. It's about how you feel about a certain story. So what I think might not be the same as what you think. So I'm just giving recommendations to what these books are, and if you might like, if you want to pick them up and see if you like them or not. That's all it is. Mind you, I love Assassin's Apprentice, and The Name of the Wind is the least out of these three that I liked. So go in it with a grain of salt. I'm just giving you recommendations for these. And the second book that I'm going to give recommendations for is a mystery thriller that I recently finished. And I will say, I did not like it at this stage of my life, but I think I would have liked it if I was in my 20s and I was reading it. So, yeah. So I'm giving you recommendation based on if I was in my 20s and what I would have wanted to read if I read this. So this is The Maid by Nita Prose, and it is about a maid who finds one of the guests who is dead in his hotel room, and she is telling her story, and it is character driven, it is very slow plot, it just goes. And it is mystery thriller story. And yeah, we are basically following Molly Maid, who is the maid, and we are learning about the story from her. Now, the recommendation that I'm going to give for this one is also another one that I read this year. And I kind of liked it, but I think I would have liked it more if I was in my 20s as well. So that one is Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King is also a character-driven book. It is a mystery thriller where the main character is telling us her story. Basically, she's telling her story to the police, but we only hear her talking. We don't see the police, we don't hear the police, she explains everything while she's talking. She addresses the police and repeats their question within her talking. Like, it's just her talking. So that's the part that was intriguing to me. The fact that she's just talking the whole time. The part that I didn't like is her personality. And yeah, the reason why I think this would be a great recommendation for the people who like the Maid is because it's also character driven. It is pretty much Dolores talking about herself. The same way as Molly talking about herself. And yeah, I think that this would be very well matched up with it too. And the third book that I'm going to recommend is one that is a bit towards my fantasy era, like my fantasy self, and my actual 20s, but I actually read them in my 20s, is the Suki Stackhouse books series, which is the first book is the Dead Until Dark by Charlene Harris. This think that most people who like mystery thriller and want a bit of romantasy in their life might like this. And this is about Suki, who lives in a small town, Louisiana, and she's a cook waitress in a bar, and she can hear everybody's thoughts. She can hear them talking about their lives and in their brain and whatever they are thinking. And then here comes someone that she cannot hear. Turns out to be a vampire. And the story goes from there. She is telling her story. We mostly hear her perspective of the story, and this one is a fast plot. So I will say, whereas the other two are slow plot driven, not really slow. I would just say this one is faster than the other two. So it's, if you want paranormal, vampires, werewolves, and those kind of things, you can pick this one up as well. So yeah, this one might be a bit stretched if you don't like romantasy / fantasy and those kind of things, but if you want to dive into it, this one is one for you. And yeah, those were all my recommendations for those two books. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.